Philippines Football League train as we are down to our final match of the Sunday triple header and our last chance to catch some local football action before we go into the international break. Army base in Taguig, and they're squaring off against Taguig. Again, quick look on the starting lineups. Coach Scott Cooper. Then on the other side for Philippine Army reservists, the start of October. And now we go into the kickoff. Of course, after this, our teams will go into their well-deserved break on October 14 at the new Clark City Stadium. Early attack here from Philippine Army, looking to get out of the gates early. But they can fall. What do you make up of the formation of Taguig right now?
Well, they are certainly looking to exploit the maiba ng konti ni Coach Nerang approach ng Philippine Army. They may be using the similar formation here, but defensively and offensively, medyo may nag-iba. Ooh!
Ooh! And that is
this replay. Of course, well, just gets away from his man. Header. And that was as clean as you'd like. And that's the problem that I was looking at earlier when I was mentioning na may konting pagbabago. Because in the previous game, Army kind of want to stick with a more tighter formation. But this time around, they have plenty of space. Tingnan mo yung gap sa pagitan ng bawat player sa loob.
On the right side with 21, Bernardo finding Ariola, who is being pressured to score a goal.
Kung mapapansin natin, nasa gilid na ng field ngayon si Ariola as opposed to what they were saying that he's going to be the tip of the sphere.
And on the counter-attack is Taguig. Oh, what a goal that is!
Now let's have a look at it this way. Ayan yung takbo niya. You could see that the ball was well placed to just be in front of him, to just make that run, that first touch. Nicely done, that touch there, setting himself up, and the shot accurate as you like.
Didn't need any power, just placement.
Big area of opportunity for Army.
It's a trademark of Army to be very physical, but Kurt Dizon again on the left side. Good pass inside. Goldson walked by Bedia. Mark Hartman. Hajimadi, of course. You're spoiled for options of midfielders here, creative midfielders. Another one, Bias with a cross. Oh!
And it is really a big and huge prestige to represent the country, the club football. Ooh, that's a bad ball right there.
Casemiro once again. Good pass. Hamed to Yusuf. 3-0 for Taguig FC.
Chances and in the right space. Kanina pa siya persist for those second balls, and that one, just the layoff space given to him. Look at that pass. Hamed finding the open man, as open as you'd like.
I love the unselfish take. Taguig is enjoying this spell of possession. Dizon with a through ball. What a lovely ball for Hiraishi. Cross. Deflection, and Casemiro called for offside. Let's see the replay there. Here's the cross from Hiraishi.
Lapit niya.
That's a close one to call.
Especially if you want to keep the ball in the game and play.
Hiraishi with a cross. Casemiro once again looking for that header. Hartman looks for his midfield partner, Hamed Hajimadi. Hiraishi, good 1-2. Shot from distance. Once again. Long ball to the other side for Bias. Good find to switch the play. Bias with a cross. Header hits the crossbar for Agemang. Into this game, and Taguig FC is on the attack once again. Yusuf scaling the opposition and takes a shot. What a goal! Into this game, and Taguig FC is on the attack once again. Yusuf scaling the opposition and takes a shot. What a goal! From Abdul Razak Yusuf.
Nilipat kay Razak ang bola. You see the three men there. Hindi pa nila alam kung saan pwesto. Nobody wanted to put that challenge in. Man, that was poor defending coming from Army, but that was such a sweet shot right there by Razak.
Taking some time with the ball at the back with Mark Hartman. Hiraishi on the turn. Looking for Kurt Dizon, but opts to do it himself. Hartman here taking the corner, and this is one of his specialties as well. Look at that looping ball, header in. It's cleared only as far as another player in blue. Yusuf Heads it towards a player in white, but gets it back again for Taguig. Here's a shot just out wide for Aguemang from Hartman. Forasuelo on the right side. Forasuelo, great dribble, sending it inside. Ooh. He asks the hard question to Coach Scott Cooper. Should I take it? Here's the delivery. Oh! What a delivery there from Mark Hardman.
Again through the replay, look at that delivery right there. Nice and high, loading just right in front of Bedia. And there's nothing he could do about that from the multiple angles here.
Quad vision replay from Upstream Sports.
The moments, yung build up, yung frustration na hindi nila nagawa, which right now, hopefully, Philippine Army can do something about right now.
Well, second half is on here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium against Timor-Leste in the new Clark City Stadium on October 14th for the continuation. But before that, another goal for Taguig FC, and what a goal that is. Brings it back to Yusuf. Ahmed Hajimari with the ball now. Back to Yusuf they go. Bias looks up, sends it forward. Header from Goldson. What a header again.
Of course, Armian, you can't really do that, but open your horizons to other Filipino players.
Look at this one. Ooh, Goldson scoring another goal for Taguig against Philippine Army.
Highest scored game.
Goldson brings it down, shot.
And that's a check. Ball was just delivered in that pass, and the shot that come through, just unfortunate that they cannot get the passes right in the final attacking third.
Right on the get-go, Kiki Reichelt getting into the action, just coming in. Oh! Naoto Hiraishi. We had 2 goal of the season contenders earlier.
He sees that he's not going to get challenged. He knows that he has the quality. And he also noticed that Bedia was a little bit too far from where he could place the ball.
At the end of the day, what they want to do is to rack up the goals, because goal difference is very important. Come championship round and there is another goal, each other out or feel the tournament or the league itself. But as far as the result tonight goes, the only one thing that we're waiting for is that 12th goal, and it comes right on cue from Kiki Reichelt as they...
Right, and you could certainly get another one, but let's look at this one first.
Hartman, that's Darren, I think, part of the coaching staff of Taguig. We'll check on that later as we have action on the field with to the hat-trick scorer Casemiro. Now Aguemang. Here's Hiraishi once again looking for that goal. What a pass.
It certainly bounced back, and right now that goal beautifully placed in front of Reichelt that made Philippine Army pay for every...
What do you feel right now being the man of the match?
Como está se sentindo sendo o homem do jogo?
Muito feliz, muito feliz, fiquei bastante satisfeito com o desempenho do grupo e ter feito meus primeiros gols com a camisa do Taguig. Pode ser.
He said that he is very happy with the victory today and with his 3 first goal with the Taguig shirt.
And serving of your Sunday triple header here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium for the Philippines Football League 2025-26 season, and we have an exciting one up front of us. We have Manila Digger FC going up against Tuloy FC in match number 22. I want to give our thoughts to our friends in Cisse, and then on the other side for Tuloy, a 4-4-2 formation. First half is underway with Manila Digger FC defending the league. So when you face that kind of team, you're going to be careful, as Manila Digger FC have a chance here with the player number 10 with a shot, hits the crossbar. For Manila Digger not forcing the issue and exploiting the defense. Now a long ball forward. There's chance. Keeper is there to commit another one. Good block. Poor pass though. Limbo. Twisting and turning. Through ball for Limbo. Good save once again for out once again on the left side. They have a man up front. Through ball. Gets it through. A golden opportunity for Tuloy. Good pass. Lupango. One-on-one against the keeper. Oh!
In this Tuloy team, they don't want to rush it. They try to play and use their technical skills rather than anything else. Chance may be here.
Liga, good threaded pass. Oh! In a live game situation, it just amazes the fans out here and even us here in the commentary panel as the counterattack is on for today. And Manila Digger into the middle. Good pass, and it's an opener for...
Let us bring you, of course, your midweek fixtures this fine Wednesday, March 25, 2026. It's the Philippine Army FC Troopers and Giants 1 Taguig. Will it be an upset in the cards or will the favorites prevail? Of course, that is number 59. A big thank you for joining us, of course, on the social media pages of the Philippines Football League. And alongside Natasha Alquiros-Dato, this is Clara Manzano. We'll be bringing you the commentary for today. And we will get to it, of course, to talk about our teams. We do see the weather. Let's get this one out of the way, Natasha. Fine weather, or is it because we have an electric fan and we're in the comforts of the grandstand?
All I have to say is that we're very lucky that today's kickoff was moved to 5 p.m. Usually on Wednesdays we have a 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. kickoff, so it's lucky that the sun will eventually come down towards the halftime and will be hopefully cooler than it has been the whole morning.
And there's a look, of course, at the situation so far. 1 Taguig, your league leaders with 42 points through 15 games. Philippine Army at the bottom, but they've been able to rack up draws as of late, but they still have some matches on hand. But when you're Army, of course, it's just about getting wins just to draw the best out of this situation. For 1 Taguig, they definitely have AFC aspirations.
That's right. When you take a look at the standings, they have the best record so far. After the one loss that they had early of last year.
That's right.
Since then, they have been on an 11-game winning streak. They also have the best record in terms of goals scored. They have a plus 64 goal difference. They've scored 67 goals in 15 games. Averages around 4.5 goals per game. And you take a look at where Philippine Army are, completely at the opposite end. So these are two teams operating on very different ends of the spectrum. A title contender in 1 Taguig going up against a team that's struggling at the bottom of the league.
But in this situation, of course, 1 Taguig, the pressure is on them to continue that fine form. For Philippine Army, you don't say they have nothing to lose, but there's less pressure of sorts. That's why you never want to count them out in these games. And as much as there's still no wins to show for Philippine Army, mind you, they did pick up 2 draws in the last 5 games. And these were upsets, or they got to hold teams here and there. They've been able to score games, actually, despite of their losses when you refer to the Troopers. And with this squad of theirs, what's interesting, Natasha, we have some new names into the mix, but the people who have been impressive as of late, wala sila dito sa roster nila.
That's right. When you take a look at who are starting and who are available, no Celis, no Gumban, no Gatenao, Ariola, and Nico Palacio. But you could also tell that there are a couple of players that will be dependent on, most especially the likes of Sapal, Regala, Soriano, and one of our players to watch in Dexter Casing.
That's right. Dexter Casing is making his debut, as the Army players did say. But when you refer to Jomaray Sapal, he did jump ship actually to the Philippine Army Troopers nung transfer window. And he's one of those key players for them. At lalo na kulang sila. You expect big things from him. And of course, with who you mentioned, Dexter Casing and Darwin Regala.
The back line, most especially having Jalsor Soriano there. He's a player that has played for Kaya FC and now with Army. Darwin Regala has played as well, most recently with Manila Digger before jumping ship to Philippine Army. And as we said, Sapal, who came from Aguilas UMAC, now with Army. And the results have been better for Philippine Army. Most especially, you take a look at their first round results and their last few fixtures. They haven't been getting the wins, as you mentioned, but they've gotten two big draws. They had that draw against Tuloy 2-all, and they also held Maharlika to a 1-all draw. And in their most recent matchup, malapit na mag 1-1 yun between them and Aguilas UMAC. It was only in the dying minutes of that match that Aguilas were able to come out with its second goal. So it's just being able to try to hold the team and the games until the final whistle.
And we did say that Dexter Casing is the player to watch again for reasons with the way he could impact the wing. Allow us to introduce him, of course, for those not familiar. He was an Adamson soaring Falcon quite recently, you could actually say, or in the last 2 years or so. And with this, actually, we can say it now, Dexter Casing had links to United City FC in about the 2024 PFL season nung patapos na yung eligibility niya in the UAAP. So, some smiles from me nung nakita ko nandun si Dexter Casing with the way he could impact this team again. And with that, with the Philippine Army Troopers, let's get on to their coach interview.
Expectation ko sa game ngayon is hopefully na kahit underdog kami, makuha namin yung game ngayon. Tsaka stick kami sa plan. And then about sa team, okay naman po yung Philippine Army football team. Continuous naman yung training, tsaka maglalaro ng maayos.
That is the outlook for the Troopers again in this game, as we've mentioned. And let's see, of course, never count them out, as we've mentioned. They've been able to give us surprises already. Will they get over that hump and seal that win they've been looking for? And let's head over to the league leaders, the #1 ranked Taguig FC. They've been on fire as of late, and they've been able to get a 100% record streak. We're not talking about getting wins and draws here, Natasha. Puro panalo when we look at it for them.
That's right. They really started the season guns blazing and never looked back. And this year, you could feel that there is such a great balance among the type of players that Taguig has picked up for this season. They have a good, strong mix of veteran national team players, former national team players, players trying to get back in the national team. You also have young, upcoming talent players from the Philippines, and as well as their foreign-based pickups.
And you see how Taguig actually respects this Army side, because they did rotate some players, but you still see that there's so much firepower here, and they mean business with what we mentioned again, because they need to grab this W given the tournament format.
And a couple of players that you have to also mention that are not on the list. There will be no Daisuke Sato. As we all know, he got called up back again with the national team. And of course, no Patrick Reichelt, who is with the national team, but just operating at a different role now for the team as well. And it's going to be a chance for Marcos Haber and the rest of the squad to really get more playing time as they rotate this squad.
And with that, of course, when you talk about rotating their squad, you still have that strong force of Pete Forosuelo, Stephen Helm at the back. Mahmoud Ali and Oli Bias will be playing fullback for them. Hamed Hachamari at attacking mid. And with Oli Bias, whom we mentioned, the player to look out for, do you want him on the wing? Do you want him at fullback? If there's Dexter Casing dun sa Philippine Army, we have Oli Bias, of course, a former Philippines international. And there was this point in time where he is actually the leader in assists in the PFL last season. And whenever he gets an opportunity to get minutes under his belt, he just seems to contribute.
And he's such a versatile player as well for the side of Taguig, able to slot in different positions. And as a right back, you know, he's a player that has 11 appearances to his name for the national team. He's also He also was the captain of the U23 team in 2022 during their AFC U23 Asian Cup qualifiers. So a lot of experience for such a young player still. Has played in Persija, Jakarta, and the likes, played for the Germany youth national team, and now, of course, playing with Taguig and giving the dimension that he brings from the back.
Always a joy, of course, to watch Olivias right here in the PFL. We are definitely maximizing that. And let's get it to our coach interview, of course, for Taguig.
Expectation tonight, of course, gusto ko makita ngayon dun sa boys na they will give quality football tonight, no? Most especially, meron kaming bad performance last game. So I think tonight we will expect na we will bounce back from there. We learn from that game, and we will give and try to get the 3 points tonight. I think the challenge na makukuha namin against Army is, siyempre, Army is playing well on their last games, no? So we're expected na they gonna push us also and try to win the game. But of course, we're ready for that, and the boys is all set and willing to get the 3 points.
Grabe no, Natasha. Ang taas ng standards ni Coach Arvin Soliman. They got to win a close-fought one against Valenzuela PB. 1-0. He still wants more. That's what a coach always wants.
Especially when you're trying to win the title, get that crown, be #1 until the very end. You can't drop focus, especially even with games against teams at the bottom, operating at the bottom of the table. You have to have maximum focus every time and get those 3 points coming.
Every goal, point, and game counts as we'll take it to the pitch.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let us welcome the teams of Philippine Army FC and Taguig FC.
Let's get to it right here with our toss coin and pre-match ceremonies. And we have our respective team captains, Chelsor Soriano and Mark Hartman. And your referees, of course. Dito po ngayong hapon, si Chris Mark Nanyola, yung referee natin ngayon. Ang kanyang assistants ay sila Relly Balila at Aldous Mirafuentes. Si Mick John Pineda ay ang fourth official. Si Roberto Hernandez ay ang referee assessor, and our match commissioner is none other than Mr. Robin Allen Kainglet. Smiles here before they get their game faces going when you refer to our referees and players. Love the pleasantries, of course, right here as we will start this one in a bit. This is a minor detail, Natasha, but I'd like to point that out. They are changing sides, so our team did opt for ball, or did opt for field rather, as we will head back to our starting lineup. 4-5-1 dito para kay Coach Ronel Hener.
Mark Padilla will be the goalkeeper between the sticks, the back line of De Guzman, Soriano, Regala, Belgira. Holding the midfield from left to right, Casing, Napolitano, Betia, Sapal, and Palacio, and Acedo will be up on top.
It will be a loaded midfield also dito para sa Taguig. The 4-2-3-1 and Stefan Schrack to add to the other players we mentioned will be big here.
Of course, Kubic will be the goalkeeper in between the sticks for them. As you mentioned earlier, Mahmoud Ali, Hal, Corzuelo, and Diaz, all these players play a crucial role to continue on the great defensive form as they had. Players in the midfield of Ahmed Hajimadi, Omeso, and Mark Hartman will be controlling the midfield. See, Schrock will be playing a more attacking position this time around alongside Haber and Dizon.
Mark Hartman, your captain right here for Taguig in this game, and Marcus Haber will kick off this match. So we did see again, I believe this was Army who opted for field. And I'm speculating this has to do with something or with the factor of playing against the sun. I ask you, of course, given your playing experience.
You take every advantage that you can get, every minor detail, whether it's the wind blowing in your direction against you, all those small factors, they add up. All those 1%, they add up to helping you be the best, play your best, and you take every advantage you can get so that you can get the win.
With you referring to that, actually, do you talk about this before the game? Oi, coach, if we win the toss coin, do we choose ball or field, or do we have to factor the sun in? How did things go back in the day when you, of course, found yourself in situations like that?
Yeah, a lot of the times it's either a team decision, the captain already knows what to do, or the coach gives the instructions before the toss coin.
There you go, Taguig. Playing this one long. They're in blue and orange. Haber, just when he thought he was going to sneak that one through, the flag is raised against him.
I also have to mention that in the first round, when Philippine Army did go up against Taguig, it was a masterclass performance from Taguig, beating Army 13-0. It was a hat-trick from Goldson, a hat-trick from Raichel. Aguiamang got on the board as well, alongside Hiraishi and the likes of Custodio.
Tandaan nga natin, you do need goal difference in case for tiebreakers. So if you're tied on points in the end, goal difference will be the tiebreaker. And you will feel that, of course, at the end of the season. Uy, okay lang kung tie tayo kasi lamang tayo sa goal difference. So that's why teams have that incentive to push through and through in any game.
Another player who has been solid for Taguig is Stephen Halm there at the back.
Hamed didn't quite get the connection with Haber. Kurt Dizon showing us his confidence with the ball. Hartman knocked it over here for Corzuelo. Oli Bias. He's got Hamed on the overlap on the left. Just when I was going to say that was great defending dito para sa Army. Unfortunately, they give up a foul.
A lot of the players of Taguig are so technically gifted, able to keep the ball so close to them in 1v1 situations. And if they don't get away from the press, they attract the fouls in dangerous areas. They make it that much harder as well when you have someone like Mark Hartman, someone who's so dangerous on taking those set-piece deliveries.
Sends this one in. But off target, I was going to say run and hide if you have Mark Hartman as your opponent and he's going to take a free kick. But of course, with their competitors in the PFL, they are never going to shy away from this. Three minutes into the game, Natasha, and Mark Bedia already taking his time setting the goal kick. Hindi naman siya warning mula kay referee Chris Mark Nanyola, but he's telling him, parang, uy, seto pa na goal kick mo. Early in the game. Hamed from So. Bias to Shraki. Orosuelo. I will recall also when Oli Bias did make his debut at the Philippine men's national team. People were comparing him to Shraki, of course, with that ability of his to just own the wing again with his spectacular play.
They also have very similar backgrounds, playing their youth football in Germany.
Too close for comfort if you are one Taguig. But it is secured. Ali just got the job done. It's those fine margins that could have gone the way of Army and would have been a dream start for them. But right, with Oli Bias and Shraki being Filipinos, but they did grow up in Germany. Haber. Still remains with them.
It was good work from the Napoletano. Marcus Haber looking twice his size, but didn't back down from the challenge there and put in the effort needed.
With Philippine Army also missing a number of players. Let's see who will step up as Shraki is crossing it up with Dizon to the center. 1-0 there, courtesy of Hartman. You see the applause also from Coach Arvin in the technical area. Seems very routine from them.
Well played by One Taguig to get the opening goal. Ball came from Schrock on the left-hand side. Behind everyone, Kurt Dizon sets up Mark Hartman to the tee, takes it first touch, low and hard, bottom left. And the opener for One Taguig. Get back to their scoring ways.
Kasi tandaan nga natin, ang One Taguig had high expectations against Valenzuela PB Aminjola. In our pre-game interview, tingnan mo siya si Coach Arvin that they only won 1-0. And that was a penalty at the death. Courtesy of Patrick Reichelt. Chupic released it. Almost won here by the Troopers. It was loose as Chupic will send it over to the side. Yes, it's 1-0. One Taguig is in control. Pero dalawang beses na, Natasha, where, do you say Army came close or they made One Taguig uncomfortable inside their goalkeeper box?
That's right. You saw that high press that they've put on. Now they're paying the price on the opposite end.
Dizon stepped on the brakes. Haber. Hartman. Taking his time. So. Shraki. Gets beaten here. How often do you say that? You have to credit Belgira though in that situation. But this is Shraki who was down, is that right?
That was just Rock getting entangled with a challenge from Belgira. Nothing looked malicious on our end from that replay. Just maybe getting a bit of the player as well as the ball. No call from the referee.
That happens, as we know, as Chupic secures. Quickly to Halm. And we were referring to this midfield again of Philippine Army. Given that they're missing a few personnel here and there, you could expect that extra effort also from Roy Kent-Bidia, playing the holding midfield. Shraki with a cross again. That may have been some ball watching as Dizon will look to capitalize. Jalsor Soriano flicked it back to his keeper. Only goes as far as Mahmoud Ali, the former youth national team player for the Philippines, who is Filipino, Egyptian. Forosuelo, dito daw kay Bias naman sa kaliwa. There's the defensive header, eventually sent out by committee by Philippine Army. Acedo dropping down, Hamed played it back.
feel that's one area of the pitch where in the first 8 minutes of this game, Taguig have been very successful on the left-hand side, the connection between Bias and Schrock.
Heavy touch from Regala. Taguig in cruise control. Hartman to Dizon. This clockwork right here. Mark gives that dangerous ball, but the execution is off for him. But going back with that again, Roy Kenbedia has to play the holding midfield. You'd normally see him, I recall also, as a player who would attack, but that versatility is somewhat expected, but the troopers would have wished, of course, na full strength sila in this game. But a number of guys were missing. No Gumban and Celis. To be precise, listed sila dito as not eligible. That means they're serving suspensions, as there's a whistle that will go the way of Army.
Just a missed time tackle there from Hull. A chance to set up for the side of Army. If I'm not mistaken, that was on Dexter Casing. And yes, when you have the likes of Celis, who has scored in their last 3 outings, not available for this game. So imagine he's serving a suspension from a red card that he got in their last matchup against Aguilas. So it's a big loss for the side of Army, but a chance for the players who don't get much playing time to step up.
As Roy Kenbedia's shot sailed just over the crossbar. You want him taking those, of course. He's the right guy here for Army. Other than that, wala si Ago Ariola, who would normally play up front for them. So si Jomar Acedo mag-step up dito, playing up front. That one-way traffic continues here. Schrock taking on Belgira. Will he cross? There's also Regala, who was in the middle, hoping to get a stop. It will remain here with Taguig and Shraki.
Schrock trying to get through the players in those 1v1s. Sliding tackle from Army. Corner still in favor of Taguig. Continue on their attack.
It's Hartman as expected. Sends it with his right. Regala's defensive header couldn't cover any distance. Stephen Halm. He was trying to enforce himself right there. Bola pa rin dito sa Taguig. Corner sa kabila.
Again, it's one thing that Taguig has as well as an advantage. You have those tall players inside the box, like of Halm, Haber, Hajimadi. These are all players who also have great aerial abilities.
Stephen Halm, though, continues to be down on the pitch. But when we are referring to players who are absent, other than Rachel and Sato, who are out for national team duty, Aldeguer and Agyebang, not eligible today, serving suspensions. Haber flicked it there, but it was cleared off. Bias got it to So. Hamed. Stephen Halm mula kay So. Ali couldn't connect with Shraki. Regala says, let's slow it down. You see the likes of Casing who will get that ball forward. A tough situation like this, Natasha. Your Army, medyo dehado kayo. The numbers, the results don't favor you. How do you approach this one? Obviously, you want to get the win, but it's like you have to play a perfect game where you make 0 mistakes.
That's right. If you're Army, you really have to minimize any errors that you can create or that are within your control. Because with a team like Taguig, who are so quick on the pounds, can easily make you suffer or punish you for errors.
They play this one to Haber over on the left. Was taking on Regala. Hamed 1-on-3. Lost it here. So he wanted to negotiate that with his futsal skills.
See, one of the things Army are doing, especially on the defensive side, trying to stay compact. They're making sure to have the numbers in the back. They get beaten on the 1v1, but someone is always tracking back, covering that space.
That was a close one. Palacio almost connecting with Dexter Casing. Shraki. The cross. Hamed got a touch. Kurt Dizon will try to collect. Double teamed. And in that situation, of course, Dizon did get a warm welcome. But let's remember, veterano na si Kurt Dizon in the Philippines. He's received his welcomes already, as Mark Bedia will secure.
But you saw that as well in that scenario, in that separate instance. Kurt Dizon had the ball. He tried to get through the man defending him. He got away with one player, but there's quickly a second player slotting in, showing that support. So in the 2v1, Army were able to collect the ball and to stop the initial danger.
Opt to bring it up slowly but surely. Casing gets it back. Jalsor Soriano. I beg your pardon, there's Regala and Jalsor Soriano playing alongside at the back. Napolitano. And in this situation, Army passing the ball at the back. How much do they have to rush this? Or can they just take their sweet time? There's the eventual stop though right here from Pete Forosuelo. Mukhang nainip siya dun, of course. He wanted the ball back badly. It's been Shraki versus Regala a lot in this game. Flicked it. Only into the gloves of Bedia.
So Taguig, not quick on that high press, or they really do change how they play tactically depending on who they're going against. They're allowing Army to pass the ball at the back once they enter towards that mid zone, and then they put on the press and they're able to quickly win possession back once they enter that area where they want to start their pressing.
And with that, the traffic will carry on. And this will be a test to the endurance of Philippine Army, because they are playing this entire game to the pace of Taguig. Ali connecting with Dizon. Dizon versus Soriano. Jalsor bringing on the physicality. Arms also flying there. Kurt Dizon was hoping, of course, that possession would remain with them. Got a throw in dito sa Army. Not just a throw in, I think. There you go. That is confirmed.
You have to give it for Army being able to contain Dizon on that right-hand side.
It's 1-0 again, thanks to the goal of Mark Hartman. Taguig just overwhelmed the defense of the Troopers early on. They got numbers in the box. Hartman got to casually bury that goal. When you look at the recent form of Philippine Army, there's the 5-1 loss to Stallion Laguna, and then a 2-2 draw with Tuloy, and then a 1-1 draw with Maharlika. Those two games, of course, full of drama. Unfortunately, they fell to Garelli, and then a close one with Aguilas. Ali having to hustle hard, gets to stop Nicanor Palacio right here. Unfortunately, there's no Nico Palacio. These two are actually brothers. When we talk about Nicanor Palacio and Nico Palacio. Chance now. Palacio sends the cross. Bias and Ahmed trying to clean up. Casing wins it back. That's what you like from him. The connection is no good right here. Will you gladly take that, or is this an opportunity gone begging already where you go? He should have nailed it there.
But you could see that Army, when they're able to win the ball back in the attacking third, they quickly try to put it inside the box. Just hasn't been accurate with the passing there. But small moments to build on for Army.
He's getting that confidence, that rhythm bit by bit. Ali gets it to Hamed. Thought about it for a moment. Gave it away cheaply. Will the Troopers bank on this one? It's 2 on 4 here though. Hartman putting in the work. This will go the way of De Guzman though. This also appears to be John Kent de la Riarte, who is standing up in the technical area as their coach. He is listed as a goalkeeper though, so he's been able to play in the PFL, not just with Army, but also with Air Force back in the day. And safely into the gloves of Chupic.
If you also break down the performance of Army, comparing it to how they went against Taguig the first time around, by this time already, by this period in the game from their previous matchup, Taguig already had the game in the bag. And to keep it this close for the first 20 minutes, it's a moment to build on for Army.
And hopefully they can build it onto the next one and the next one. You refer to the stages in this game. As this is a foul in the midfield. And what you're also hoping for, as much as your Army, you're able to keep it 1-0 in the first 25% or so. You want to continue to stay locked in all the way and not concede at the end, which see times did flame out or fizzle out. Dun bumibigay yung depensa nila. Royken Bedia is up after being shaken up. He's someone they definitely need in this team again with his ability in the midfield. But you do not have that former Green Archers United trio in Philippine Army. Royken Bedia, John Celis, Ago Oriola. We did mention those reasons again. So it's Bedia, who is that lone man from that trio we mentioned. Pero kahit papano, Natasha, Philippine Army have a great number of players with pro experience. We were talking about Jalsor Soriano also earlier. I also recall Dexter Casing last season was even picked up by Stallion, so he was with a loaded squad for a time. Shraki got beaten. The Troopers bringing it up tentatively. Can't get the connection to go here.
Pass just too far, the reach of Bedia. We're also seeing the game's not just as one-sided as it was in the previous outing between these two teams. Coach Arvin Soliman mentioned it as well, that he also understands the form that Army have been not getting the results, but you see that they've been playing better, more cohesively as a team.
Army's 2 points, which have come from 2 draws, have come from their recent games again. You don't really say they're getting fine form already, but nonetheless, it's still a building block of theirs, a step that they can take. So the big question mark is, will they get that breakthrough win? As much as they're in the bottom of the table, they're out of contention to make it to the championship round. It's better late than never. As Haber, Cassie got to poke it out, sent it to safety. And those are also stops here that you could take as you want to build confidence if you are the Army troopers rather.
You see the overload defensively as well. Gala and Belgira. That was a cross from that left flank. And stopped by Mark Bedia. Again, as you mentioned, it's really that left side where Taguig are able to get the crosses in, find the players inside the box.
In that situation, it's such a fine line. Na-stress ako dun. He had the ball right at the goal line, but he obviously knew what he was doing. It's those fine margins again in this game as Shraki will look to split the midfield. It was poked out of the feet of Hartman, but it's with Dizon. Returned it to Shraki. Ball to Haber was denied. It was De Guzman getting the stop, but Kurt Dizon will keep the pressure.
Kurt able to keep possession for Taguig. But in moments again, we're seeing just a stronger physicality from Army, taking on the challenges against the players of Taguig.
Now it's BS cutting inside. There's the clearance that Halm will look to collect. And with this clearance covering quite some distance, Army able to move its block forward now. Taguig, you see though, they are very confident in tight spaces. So Oma, Pete Forosuelo.
Taguig sending more and more players just on that attacking end.
Bias, I could speculate he was ahead of himself in that moment. That's why the troopers got to poke it away. I spoke too soon there as he knocked it to the left. Dito kay Shraki naman daw. Oh, and you love that work rate from Bias. That's what we were talking about there from him.
Taguig there, they go again on the attack. Looking for the pockets of space in between. Trying to find themselves. Swing the ball now on that right flank.
You see those probing runs here from Army trying to make Taguig uncomfortable on offense. As Bedia will send it forward. Palacio also opening up wide. They'll try to make a run for it here. Ball only ended up as far as Forosuelo. But credit to Sapaloso. As expected, he's able to help them pull those strings in the midfield. Shraki will try to take on Belgira one-on-one. Only half cleared. Dizon kay Ali. Hartman released before his defender came. You have Dizon and Hamed as options. Ali low cross. Hamed shoots, but he goes over.
Say that since the goal that happened early in the first 5 minutes of the game was the best chance so far from Taguig. You can see the relentless effort that Army are putting in really on that defensive side, but somehow Taguig still able to find those spaces in between. So quick on the passes, able to find that small opening for Hamed Hajimadi to take that shot, just couldn't keep it on target.
We are nearing the 30th minute already, and it's 1-0 thanks to Mark Hartman. He has possession so far. But you get to shake off those nerves, of course, if you're Taguig. As Haber will get it in. Runs out of space, and that is confirmed. Going back to that, of course, if you're Taguig, you're much more relaxed because you lead 1-0. Because we've witnessed a great number of games in this season. You'd see a team lead, just talking about the league in general, but they're not able to score. And minsan, yung kalaban pa, who's not holding possession, is able to get a game winner or a surprise goal, you could say, on the counter.
As you mentioned, on the gig, very comfortable in taking that gamble to sending more and more players up on top. They only have 2 or 3 players when it comes to closing down the quick counters of Philippine Army. They have a lot of trust that the players at the back that they've left behind are very capable.
Because if your last line of defense is past the half line, there's no offside in that instance. Dizon, he's in the middle now as opposed to the right. Got to thread the needle to Bias. There's a quick recovery from Kasing. Shraki will chip. The lob only ended up as far as Mark Bedia. Here they come now. Hartman got beaten. De Guzman, nagmamadali. Runs into an enforcer named Stephen Halm.
That's well timed by Halm. Just waited for the moment that De Guzman pushed the ball a little bit further.
Stephen Halm from Ghana. He did get experience also in the UAE, the west side of Asia. As Shraki's ball once more is met, he's left a bit frustrated. I think he wanted better on the receiving end. It's a double-header again for your Wednesday Philippines Football League action. Later, we have Tuloy and Manila Digger FC. When they squared off in the first round, when we recall, ang daming highlight goal actually with those two teams. Different styles, they gave us great action.
Gotta love just how much football we're having all around. But there's, of course, the Philippine women's national team that have recently booked their ticket for the 2027 World Cup. Or it's the upcoming game for the Philippine men's national team. We also have the PFL at the moment on Wednesdays and on Saturdays and Sundays. We have the Angliga tournament for women's football. And of course, Manila Digger, who are currently still in the running for the AFC Challenge League.
Digger will square off in the semi-final, actually, against Cambodian side Svay Rung. They will be squaring off, actually, with Rio Fuji, a former PFL player, actually, with the likes of Kaya. That was great, actually. I did get to see Rio Fuji late last year. He was with the likes of Harvey Gayoso. They were watching the Philippine women's national team in the AFC Women's Asian Cup qualifiers, as Haber will try to drive by the defense, but it's Bedia again. You expect that from Bedia. You expect him to be clockwork. High demands here for Mark Anthony Bedia. And when they're able to bag these massive results, when you refer to their upset draws, you see a fantastic performance from him. Hamed, the give and go with Bias. Stopped by Jalsor Soriano. Here comes the tank.
You have to give it to Army as well. Defensively, they're able to read the plays. They haven't been as successful when it comes to their counterattacks or when they set on transition from defense to attack. So far, defensively, they've been doing enough after that spill out in that first opening 5 minutes, wherein the gig were able to take advantage.
Kanina kita natin yung matchup with Stephen Halm versus Jomar Acedo. Acedo giving him a bit of a bump here and there. Tumalsik si Stephen Halm ng konti. Naka-adjust siya. That Jomar Acedo. And he just shows that mentality of Philippine Army. As much as they're not the tallest, they're not the biggest, they'll never back down from a challenge. As the cross Was somewhat intercepted and cleaned up. Who got that one? Jomaray Sapal. Here's some passing at the back. Hartman bringing out the hustle. But there is the miscue with Hamed.
Pass just given behind the run of Hartman. Chance now for Army to string together some possession, but eventually a turnover.
It ended up with Jalsor. Palacio. Bringing out the skill, but his teammate losing possession. Montague's transition defense getting the job done. But let's also wrap up that calendar with what's up next. Stallion Laguna's women's team, right? As you also mentioned last night in the Minsan Football Show, will play in the AFC Women's Champions League.
So that's March 28th. Inviting everyone to save the date.
We will
not stress it enough as well. On March 31, it's the Philippines versus Tajikistan for the AFC Asian Cup qualifiers. A crucial matchup to send our men's national team to another chance at the Asian Cup.
Simple as this, the Philippines has to win. A draw or a loss will mean that Tajikistan will qualify. And we'll continue to give you credit. You're that Stallion team that clinched the qualification. As there's a goal here sent home by Stephen Hum.
Pinpoint delivery and the flick of the head of Stephen Hall to find the back of the net and make it a comfortable 2-0 for the side of Taguig FC. That's what we're talking about. If they couldn't get anything through open play, the delivery from Hartman, finding Hum just at the edge of that 6-yard box. Didn't have to really jump or leapfrog around anyone. There was no one closing him down. Caught the Army players ball watching. That's one of the strengths really of Taguig, that their defensive players able to help and contribute to help score goals, especially when the team aren't able to when it comes to open play.
It's not just about getting stops for the defenders of Taguig, but also being able to win these aerial duels, especially in corner kicks, set pieces, you name them. What a celebration though from Stephen Hum. Rather than just celebrate on his own, goes up to Mark Hartman, says thank you, gets a piggyback also. Taguig still wanting more. Ramdam din natin yung frustration earlier because with the way they've been attacking, we were in about the 30th minute, 1-0 pa lang yung score. You have to credit Army though. They were getting frustrated because they wanted or expected more goals with the way they were attacking.
And as you mentioned, of course, Army not having any foreign players. They don't have the tallest team.
Acedo with a cross. It is met by Milos Chupic.
As you talk about Army, they're composed of enlisted personnel who balance both football and, of course, their service duty. So it's the only all-Filipino squad for the PFL. And Taguig, again, having those tall center backs who have great aerial powers, and at that advantage, they were able to exploit in that occasion the weakness of Philippine Army, especially when it comes to set-piece opportunities.
Let's also add Tuloy to the list of your all-Filipino squads. They will be playing later on, actually, against Manila Digger.
I'd say that just because Tuloy at the moment, they have one foreign player.
There's one now.
Marcos Toves. So technically, Philippine Army na lang.
So no count na pala. But that does not stop your football fans from supporting Tuloy FC. Tuloy FC also beefing up its roster with a number of former UAAP players. Kasi kung may Nico Palacio with Army but not playing in this game, may Dexter Casing, And with Tuloy, they signed up Nino Tambilawan, who is a former UE keeper. As Rocky almost got to sneak this one past when you talk about goal. Dizon. Haber to Shraki. Here's a looping ball only with Bedia. It's like Bedia and Shraki have been playing catch also as of late with the way he's been able to intercept here and there to deny chances. As the flag is raised here, when Haber chested it, our assistant referee flagged him offside. You say those are smiles of frustration from Shraki.
I'd say especially because since he didn't see that flag up, when you beat your player, edge of the box, you have a chance to take a shot. Those are the moments it gets frustrating.
Still plenty of time, of course, though, in the first half. Haber hit the pitch, eventually gets a whistle. And this is from a scoring area, I reckon. But any free kick inside your attacking half is within a Mark Hartman territory. And he's standing up to this one.
Referee Chris Mark Nanyola just having a word. Marcus Haber there.
You think Hartman's going for goal, or will he play a clever ball to a teammate?
All we know is that he can do either. He's very much capable.
If you asked me that question, I would say, Toskoy natin. Try to set up home from the looks of it. Shraki. Intercepted once more. Bedia is a regular customer again of Shraki here, as Mark is down. Mark Bedia and Roy Kent Bedia are cousins, as Coach Elmer Lacknet, Mr. Football himself, confirmed to us.
That was a cross from Strzok on that left, from that left flank, trying to find Marcus Haber. Bedia got his hands to it, a little bit entangled, just got hit. You'd feel on the hip there, taking him a while to get back up. So far, 40 minutes in this matchup, Taguig aren't as fluid in terms of how they play. They've still gotten the goals, but you'd have to say Army, in moments of this game, have really been able to also close down those spaces wherein Taguig can capitalize from. The captain on the pitch for Taguig, Mark Hartman, has been a difference maker for his side. Goal and an assist so far in this matchup.
It was Stephen Hom again who made it 2-0 off that Mark Hartman assist. As Hamed got beaten there. Bedia will get it their attacking direction now. Regala. They were playing with fire there as Haber will shoot, doesn't score. It's another stop for Bedia.
It's a great save by Bedia. Haber had the time and space, chose the angle, tried to go for that left. Bedia was quick with the reaction.
I will say this already also, when Army got their maiden point in the 2024 PFL season, his Tito Elmer Lacknet actually joined us for a chat in the last 30 minutes or so in their game. And we asked him, Coach, what do you have to say here about the performance, Tito, ng nephew mo? Kasi maganda yung pinapakita niya sa game niyon. Sabi niya, kulang daw siya sa extra rice. That's what he was saying about Mark Bedia. He threw me off guard there when I talk about Elmer Lacknit.
You have to give it to these Army players as well.
Dizon trying to shift direction. Got to blow by one. Hartman doing his thing. Haber denied of a scoring opportunity by Mark Bedia himself.
You could see what Hartman was trying to do there, but the curl of the ball just was creeping in closer to Bedia rather than to the attacking player in Haber.
It's Forosuelo now with Shraki. Less than a minute remaining until stoppage time. 2-0 again thanks to Mark Hartman and Stephen Halm. The lights now on here at the Rizal Memorial Stadium. Shraki once more. Haber chested it. Had his back turned, was looking for a teammate. De Guzman had to send it back. Haber will try to make them pay the price. Hamed couldn't quite reach it. Palacio got his job done there with positioning. Chance on the counter. Acedo normally a winger, but he's playing up front again to make up for the absence of Ago Ariola. As a yellow is going to be issued here. Napolitano and Ham
There will be
not happy.
Of 2 minutes of additional time.
I'd say that Army have to be careful with those challenges like that. It's just a strong arm that Napolitano had over the face of Stephen Halm. And then the audacity to push him afterwards. And I think when you have those two, the action and the reaction as well, it just warrants you the yellow card and you're in the books quickly for the side of the referee.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but going back with physics, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. They hit this one wide. You have to credit the hustle from Bias here. He started it, hence Forosuelo was able to win it also. That effort of Oli Bias, contagious. Alias options left, right, and center. Wanted to set up. Dizon. Cross was stopped. That was Napolitano earlier who was able to get that denial. I think Hartman wants another goal right here. And Ali is the culprit there and did hit Palacio.
Right call there by the referee. He did get a lot more of the player than he did the ball. Palacio now back on his feet again.
Past the allocated 2 minutes already right here to conclude our first 45. It's maybe the last spell of possession. Kassing couldn't secure. This will be a disaster for Army if they concede one at this point in time. But it's a stop again for Bedia. A close one in that sequence, but it is halftime and it is 2-0 right here for Taguig over Philippine Army FC. Mark Hartman opened the scoring again while Stephen Ham got to send home a corner from Hartman himself. There you go. That's how we find ourselves at the half.
Ladies and gentlemen, the halftime score is Philippine Army 0, 1 Taguig 2.
Halftime at the Rizal Memorial Stadium, and it is 2-0 for Taguig over Philippine Army FC, thanks to the efforts of Mark Hartman and Stephen Hum. Hartman was actually the provider in that goal of Stephen Hum to make it 2-0. Let's take a look at the highlights, of course. Roy Kent Bedia was actually able to pull some strings right here in the midfield for the crew of Army.
That's right. Army had very few chances lurking around the box, but no clear-cut chance. And this was the sequence of how that goal happened from that left-hand side on to Dizon. Hartman with the finish to get the early goal.
Mostly traffic left to right, Natasha, looking back. And Mark Anthony Bedia has been busy Yes, a great number of shots, also a great number of chances.
And this is how the second goal took place. It was a corner delivery, set piece, pinpoint onto Holm. Right before the end of the first half as well, Taguig tried to make that 3-0. But Bedia with a couple of saves right before the break.
And this was the moment that led to yellow cards being flashed in this game.
That's right, Napolitano getting the yellow card, the one and only throughout that first half. And when you take a look at the possession, 60% for Taguig, 40% for Philippine Army, 14 shots of total, 10 on target, and 3 corners. And from all those attacking stats, they were only able to convert 2 goals. As for the side of Philippine Army, they played mostly defensive, and it took them, there were very few moments that were able to get out of the press. And in total, we're only able to make 2 shots and only 1 on a target. Fouls were plenty, 6, and they even got a yellow card for Napolitano. But the stats don't lie, and at the moment, Taguig with a comfortable 2-0 against Army here at the halftime.
With 10 shots on target, and then we have 2 goals for Taguig. That means Mark Bedia has been able to come up with 8 saves and add to the great number of chances that he got to deny. Normally those are long balls into his goalkeeper area. He'll have crosses here and there, the corner kicks that he'd tap out, punch out, or intercept. You name them. 2-0 is the score, Natasha. I just wanted to ask before we head over, of course, to the second half. Does the score line justify the dominance of Taguig?
Well, if you're comparing it to the first round, you'd say that when these two teams met, Army also weren't the same Army that they were now. They feel more like a team. They're more cohesive defensively. They're more organized. And Taguig, when they started, really just all their attacks, any attack that they created, they found the back of the net. And now you'd say that they haven't been as fluid in this matchup as we've seen them in their previous games. A bit of struggling with form, still getting the results. And that's all that matters, is that they're still finding the back of the net, just maybe on a lesser scale than we're used to seeing them, most especially how dominant they were during that first round and the start of the second round against lower ranked teams.
You'll take it at the end of the day. Yes, you're Taguig, you're struggling by your standards, and when you say that, it's getting close score lines in wins. When compared to the other games, you'll see these massive score lines where they get 8-0, 13-0. Also in the first round versus Army, as we've mentioned.
We also have another half to play. Taguig, they always have a lot of tricks up their sleeve. You'd say that they're the most agile team, able to tactically shift and adjust to make the necessary changes game per game, half per half, to always get those results. And for Army, let's see if defensively they can stay strong and on the transition, work a bit better and more clinical.
Here we go. Shraki and Taguig carrying on strong. Just mere seconds now into this one as we have a look at our subs.
Player number 10, Tomar Acedo.
So that's 2 substitutions for the side of Army. Acedo and Belgiros, they are done. And in their place, you have Chai Villaseñor and Lunaspe.
With the likes of Villaseñor being inserted, he is a defender. Lunaspe, more of an attacking player. So you see the intent, of course, to improve on both ends. Shraki cleared off here by Villaseñor. Kasing couldn't just get it here though, unfortunately, to Jomaray Sapal. Hartman had plenty of time with the ball there. He was just able to scan all his options forward. Palm's diagonal ball was controlled well here by Bias. He'll send in that cross. Kasing He thought he was just going to clear that, of course. Drag that ball back. Only goes as far as Saul right here. Hartman. Way off here. He's not happy with that.
You can tell you had the time and space, but just leaned a bit back and the ball went sailing. You also have to note that for Taguig, they are also playing this matchup without two of their leaders, two of their captains, with the likes of Daisuke Sato and Patrick Reichelt. You also have to add the players that are not eligible as well, likes of Agyemang and Aldeguer. And so all these 4 players are usual starters for the side of Taguig.
That's a big blow to your attack when you mention Sato, Reichelt, even Aldeguer. And the way Aldeguer has been able to grow right here, of course. He did play in the United States for a while in Division 1. I thought for a moment he was going to take the conventional path and play in the UAP. But you saw, of course, over the past years, he played for the youth national team setup when they were called the ASCOS development team. And he's become a fixture right here for this Taguig side. So that's great development that you get to see from him.
And also when you take a look, that Reichelt is the top scorer for the side of Taguig. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he has 17 goals to his name. And without having Agyemang and Aldeguer, who both have scored 5 goals as well.
Reichelt is the second best scorer in the league, as it is a goal on the board for Haber. You could say it's a sigh of relief with the way he's been knocking and knocking on the door. His teammates allowed him to unlock that, of course.
And you're not surprised who was behind the pass. Mark Hartman gives it low and perfectly right behind that defensive line. And Marcus Haber just runs into it. The first touch was saved by Badia, but the second ball, no mistake this time around, and just heads that lightly into an empty back of the net.
3-0 is the score, and Mark Hartman has been involved in all 3 goals. Hartman, of course, made it 1-0 himself. Up next, he assisted Stephen Halm off the corner. And this time around, he got to set up that effort of Haber. No angle in that instance as it goes into the gloves of Badia.
So of course, at the moment, the most number of assists, if I'm not mistaken, not just for Taguig, but for the league, will be Mark Hartman. 16 assists to his name, and at the moment 4 goals so far. So 20 goal involvements for him, for the side of Taguig throughout their 15 games.
Heading into this game, from what I saw, Hartman and Galiana Trujillo are actually tied at 14. Pero yun, nakaangat na nga si Mark Hartman thanks to his effort. Number 3 in the assists category, you do have Mike Ott of Kaya FC Iloilo. But going back, of course, with goal scoring, Patrick Reichelt, number 2 in the league. Right below him, there's Abubakar Toure with 12 goals, and then there's Finn McDaniel on top with 22. But is it a surprise also when you look at clean sheets? Milos Čupić, 10 clean sheets. He wants to make this one 11.
And it's just in form with how Taguig have been playing throughout this season. As we've mentioned, they've scored the most goals. And I think that they've also conceded the least amount of goals as well.
Yes, just 3, actually.
And that's already the scoreline right now.
You could count with the number of fingers in your hand, the number of goals Taguig have conceded so far in this season. It's on to the right now. Sapal trying to be the provider. Not the best of clearances right there from Ali. Just Gave it back to Jomaray Sapal. You love the hustle from Hamed though, as he got to clean up. And just when you thought Taguig were going to slow it down, they immediately got it to Shraki and Hartman. They just dissected the middle easily. There's Hamed on the left, Haber, Hartman in the center.
I'm not surprised as well as the moment in time where Taguig have scored a goal. In the first half, we noticed that in the first 10 minutes, first 3 minutes of the game, for 4 minutes, that Taguig were able to score, not allowing Army to settle in and already taking advantage. And again, in the second half, they're so quick. They start very strong in the first few minutes.
Hartman into the 6-yard box. Hamed. It did come off of Sapal though. Ball still in play. And it's with Dizon. Hajimari just intercepted again by Bedia. Dexter Casing using his space to his advantage. Napolitano returned it here to Casing. Bedia from Villaseñor has to play this one long. And Taguig will continue. Sooma. Hartman just sees Kurt Dizon wide on the right wing. Will take it with his left. But definitely no good here for Kurt.
You see the players at the back, Stephen Holm, able to give those pinpoint deliveries to Bias on the left, or Hartman finding Kurt Dizon on the right side. They do have players in the midfield role really who are able to find these attacking players with just strategic precision to help them get the advantage on the attack.
Hartman will knock it wide now. Bias tried to play it quickly. Hamed is still with him. Napolitano trying to make good friends here with Hamed. And despite of the tight space, it ends up with Dizon, but no good. He wants that one back.
You can see the reaction from Dizon, able to wiggle his way around, and look at how they were able to operate, dancing just around the edge of the box. He had the time and space, able to get out of the press of the Army players, tried to slot it in to the bottom right. Just a bit overhit.
Dizon would have liked to join the scoring party here.
You could tell he's hungry to score those goals for Taguig.
It's Shraki, or to Hartman. Got to blast it through right here. It's Taguig now getting a cushion. Second goal for Mark Hartman in this outing.
No mistake from Mark Hartman there. I'd say that Bedia could have done a better job at that. But a well-timed run and the pass from Schrock. It was a tight angle, but he just powered through. So much power in that shot, made it that much harder for Mark Bedia to get his hands to it.
By player number 20,
Mark Hartman at the moment, 2 goals, 2 assists, and it's only been 55 minutes in this game.
The fingerprints of Mark Hartman all over this game. And it continues here. Hartman is either scoring or assisting when you refer to the 4 goals so far in this game. They wanted to play it long here. You see the pressure being mounted from the legs of Sapal and Lunaspe.
Look back quickly at the halftime talks.
Hartman trying to be tricky here. That would have been a highlight goal if he nailed it.
You feel that they're just really operating at different axles here. Once we restarted the second half, Taguig came out, second half, guns blazing, on a mission, and continuously on the attack, able to make the necessary adjustments. Movements from the players. Saw Haber was playing as a lonesome striker in that first half, but now Shraki really slotting in more central as like the second striker as well.
He's just been able to cut through the defense like a hot knife through butter.
CBS now just deployed on that left wing and Dizon on that right.
Hartman is just drifting all over the midfield here. You could even say that with Shraki, the two of them all together. And that was lovely here from Dizon. Badia was about to get it, but I think he will take that effort from his teammate.
When you give Mark Hartman and Schrock those free-flowing roles, that's truly where they excel. Because these are players who have that magical touch of being able to find and exploit pockets of space.
And then you have players like Dizon who stretch the defense, but he wants to get on the scoreboard. Kurt definitely wanted a whistle there. And you do see De Guzman is able to get away with that. They'll take the stop, especially with Army struggling in this stretch.
Taguig on really good momentum. Quickly able to double up that lead at the start of the second half.
Let's recall, it was 2-0 at the half. Stephen Halm has his hands busy. He was able to head it to Chupic with Lunaspe trying to cause trouble. It was 2-0 at the half. Not even 15 minutes into the second, just bouncing off what you were saying, they fired 2 goals already. Did Taguig stay the course, or are you seeing something from that halftime adjustment for the crew of Coach Arvin?
Yes, like I mentioned, a lot of adjustments have been made for Taguig. That's why they're playing much better in the second half. And Schrock playing a more central role, floating in on the attack and in the midfield, rather than in the first half when we saw him just contained to that left wing.
This long ball just ended up with Stephen Halm as he sent it back to his keeper.
It's also one of the strengths of Taguig, able to tactically make adjustments without even having to change the personnel, just changing where they're playing on the pitch.
It just goes into those computerized brains of these players, you could say. I'm oversimplifying it, of course. Press enter, mag-execute na sila. They're gonna start getting that project done or that task done. Over to Shraki now. And Natasha, pati si Shraki nagsa-side quest lately. Playing in the PFL Futsal Liga.
That's right. And we also mentioned it on that Minsan football show just last night. He's recently named man of the match in their latest matchup against UANP. So we're seeing him thrive not only on the football scene, but also getting his fingers on the futsal scene as well.
As much as we know that he really has that knack for competing, hence he unretired a number of times. With him playing there, as Hartman will give us a service, and with him playing there, he's forcing all of our local players in that tournament to raise their game because they're playing against one of the best.
And not also that, we've seen it in women's football, but now we're also seeing it as well in men's football. Players able to drift between football and futsal, and I'll say that it's not easy, but you have the likes of Inday Tolentine, plays for Kaya FC in women's for women's football, but plays for the national team, for the futsal team.
Right. You also recall the likes of Jackie Savitsky, did play for the national team, or obviously made her mark with the Filipinas in football. Also played in futsal.
But you give it more to those players who are constantly playing in futsal rather than a one-off time just for the World Cup, like the likes of Inday Tolentine, Sheila Kadag, Bebe Lemoran, play their football with a club like Kaya and with Stallion, but play for the futsal national team in and out every tournament.
So essentially, there's more exposure to futsal. So nasasanay ka to the different rules, the mechanics, the movements. It's that familiarity that can just also give you an advantage. Like getting reps or getting practice in whatever craft, of course. If you stay focused on that, you're going to specialize of sorts. We have a set of changes being set up also. Do continue to stay with us. We will keep you posted on those. We have less than half an hour remaining right now. It is one Taguig in cruise control.
Of course, but it's nice to see, like as you mentioned also earlier, so much football and futsal tournaments happening at the same time. And that was a confirmation of the substitution being made as Schrock exits the pitch, and it's Goldson who takes his place. Or Casemiro. Well, technically it's the same person.
Goldson, yes. Goldson, Casemiro Marquez, or call him Goldson for short. Yeah, Ichiro Aoki also entering alongside him. And unfortunately, Kurt Dizon wants to call it a day after about 1 hour of action. He would have liked to get a goal for the road again, especially with the way he's been able to impact the game from the wing. Body's getting tangled up here. And from my initial look, it is a call that will go the way of Goldson. 10 seconds into this game, Goldson getting a hard foul.
And this is the perfect sweet spot to go for goal. Just outside the box. And you have two players, three players over it as well.
I thought Hamed was even going to take it initially with the way he was stepping up. But Mark Hartman is outright the man right here. In his Minjola days, Hamed would be that main man to take these attempts. But Mark Hartman has been in a role as of late. He'll shoot, but doesn't score. He is one goal away from a hat trick.
He gets a curl on it, but shot just way high.
Let's break down the scorers again so far in this game. As there is a whistle against Aoki. Mark Hartman with a brace, and he did get to assist the goals of Stephen Halm and Haber. That's how you break things down. Puro Mark Hartman so far here. Definitely a favorite for a man of the match.
Also to carry on from our talks earlier. Just so much football action happening, and inviting everyone again to continue to support not only the Philippine Football League, the Minsan Football Show, but all football and futsal events happening along the way. Stallion Laguna women's team will be playing on March 28th in their AFC Women's Champions League quarterfinal matchup against Tokyo Verde 1969.
Flag is raised right here as Aoki came so close. That is Ichiro Aoki, born in Marikina, is Filipino, but did spend his formative football days in Japan. Says here in his profile, he went to Shogakuin High School. May sumunod na dito kay Kenji Nishoka
I was just about to say, we're finding more talents even dito sa Philippine Football League. It's so good to give these young players that platform to be able to be noticed. Maybe get called up in the national team.
This one looking dangerous here though for Army. And they get a corner here. Aoki just blew by the defense, fell for the fake of Palacio, but there was the help to come on defense. A rare corner here, you will say, for Philippine Army.
If I'm not mistaken, it could even be the first corner for them in this matchup. Sapal will be the designated taker.
I wonder how they'll take this, because you're the shorter team, because as we know, the taller team with the advantage in corners. And as much as we say that, it was the tank, Jalsor Soriano, getting his head to it.
If you saw it as well, it was a great taken corner. There was only one player inside. It was only Soriano. And the Taguig defensive players just caught ball watching. No one really closed him down. He got his head to it, and he's not the tallest of players.
BS will knock this back. They will try to stretch this Philippine Army defense. And one Taguig have been able to strike again 4 times in this game. Now, Ali got hit right after releasing that ball. So Oma, Pete Forasuelo. BS getting Casing to dance. Those are our highlight players when you refer to Dexter Casing and Oli Bias. They've been able to give us a lot of energy on the wings. Chew pitch. Got this to Bias. There is a trooper down on the pitch. He'll get it to Hamed on the left. Fancy there from him. Bias took a hit. Ando nagsorry si Roy Kent Bedia.
They also have a player down with cramps for Philippine Army. And you're not surprised that a player has gone down already. It is just that much more tiring to constantly defend and to react than it is to hold the ball, to keep the ball.
That is something we also raised at the start of this game, because we expected one Taguig to have lion's share possession and to dictate the game. The Philippine Army playing catch up or playing follow the leader when it comes to defending, playing behind the ball. Is that starting to take its toll right here? Kaya napapagod yung troopers.
As you mentioned, throughout that first half, despite the scoreline being 2-0 right before the break, we saw moments wherein Philippine Army were really able to frustrate a one Taguig side that on another day would have been more rampant on the goals scored against them. They're so defensively organized. And even on the counters, they're sending the numbers up. It's a time for a Philippine Army to check, especially for head coach Ronel Hener and Ricardo Besite, to really check who they can pick out to come off the bench to help change things up for Philippine Army. Which impact substitutes can they rely on?
Hartman will drive it forward. We have said that repeatedly again with the way Hartman has been controlling this game. But Jalsor Soriano is down. And in comes Boogie Margarce. We do know he has that player-coach type of role right here as he officially replaces Kirjan Napolitano. Let's remember, Natasha, as we will look at this replay first. It's just why and how Jalsor Soriano hit the ground. That's a bit of a concern if it's non-contact for obvious reasons. And I actually want to point out Jalsor Soriano is doing this all at the prime age of 38 years old. He was with Kaya about 4 years back. That was his recent stint, and that's why he gives us so much quality here, because of the way he just anchors the squad. So are they tightening up his laces maybe from tweaking his ankle? I'm only speculating, of course.
Even in the replay that we've seen, we didn't see really any contact there. It could be something with the ankle. He had to remove his boot. That's not something that you want to see literally a few seconds after making that substitution. Makes you want to rewind time just a little bit, so maybe you could have saved it rather than now having to think if you're going to make a third substitution.
You have those rare moments in games where you're out of subs and all of a sudden a player gets hurt, right? In this instance, by our math, Army still good with a number of subs and opportunities.
Let's see if Taguig at the moment as well can take advantage even further of the fact that Army are one player down, not just any player, that's their captain, and another two players go down. Not a good sign for Philippine Army. That was Goldson gets the booking. See that he wasn't very much involved there, but there was a strong collision between two players for Philippine Army. Two of them are slow to get back up. One of them is Roykent Bedia.
We got to double check with the ground. On the ground, the yellow was issued to Darwin Regala, I think for what happened a bit after this incident. Regala committed a hard foul. Referee allowed it to play on, eventually stopped.
Another moment to just slow down everything that's happening. You see now Soriano back on the pitch, so a good sign for Philippine Army. You don't want to see your captain out and down for a long time. And apologies for the confusion there. It was Darwin Regala who gets the booking.
Darwin Regala, as we know, the NU Bulldog back in the day. It looks like our troopers who are down are okay to continue. We know, of course, these guys are built tough, they're built strong. If they fall down, they're going to bounce back up. Ahmed wide to Goldson. Haber would have liked to meet that for a rebound at the least, of course. And can I get this out of the way? Because Boogie Margarce is on the pitch. You thought Jalsor Soriano was in at the prime age of 38. 49 na si Coach Boogie Margarce.
49?
49 here according to his record online. And he's a miracle in Hanoi, Ascal, also. Just to put respect on his name for those who do not know. And of course, with Army coming back into the top tier of football ever since the Copa, we've been highlighting that, of course. My Coach Boogie, and you have Yok Besite, a national team player back in the day, but Yok Besite not with the squad anymore. Boogie Margarce was there when it all started. A miracle in Hanoi. That was the 2010 AFF Men's Championship, where the Philippines got to make it to the semifinals. And they have another corner again. It'll be Jomaray Sapal to take this. It's a test to the creativity of Army in this situation. I believe it was Soriano who almost got to it. Not in this instance though. Just quickly on the counter like that. Taguig snapping their fingers. They made it all the way to the other side of the pitch. Cross couldn't connect, but Sooma was able to recover. Got it back from Hamid. Olibias. Ball for Goldson was intercepted. And I can confirm that was Janart Lunaspe actually who got a touch earlier for the Troopers inside the goalkeeper box. Kasing trying to make a run for it. Ali and Saw to beat. Oh, Kasing getting hit in the chest here. He got pushed from behind, hit the shoulder of a Taguig player.
Strong outings from Kasing. Got sandwiched in between a push from the back from Omeso and just landing directly into Mahmoud Ali.
And that is
literally, what a trooper. Getting back on his feet so quickly.
And that's why you have Roy Kent Bedia to take this once more. He's been the designated man for them. Initially, we saw Jomaray Sapa line up also for this. Haber, he is close to playing 90 minutes.
As you've mentioned earlier, all the players that have, or the ages of Boogie Margarza here, you know, beyond the usual of awards of Golden Boot, etc., we need to have those oldest and the youngest players as well playing in the PFL, because it's really setting a record. Just the capability of what the body is capable of, what the mind is capable of.
Hamed from Goldson, being fancy. Oh, definitely offline there.
We saw that in quick transition. The best chance for Philippine Army on the attack. But quickly, Taguig able to translate that all the way into 1/3 a chance.
John Lunaspe got that shot on target. He did get Milos Chupic to work. Maybe it's a bit of a giant ask to have the Troopers spoil the clean sheet of Taguig, especially with the way this game has been going. But Jalsor Soriano is shaken up. That may be connected to his ankle issue that we got to witness earlier. Speedy recovery to Jalsor, of course.
Yes, if you're Philippine Army at the moment, you don't want to see your captain off the pitch. He's been such a bright spot as a center back for them in this game. As you mentioned, 38 years young, Jalsor Soriano.
And while we're at it with this topic, we also mentioned Coach Boogie Margarce. Even had Yanti Barsales when Philippine Air Force actually played in the 2019 PFL. As Coach Boogie will get the armband now with Soriano being subbed off due to injury. Speedy recovery again to Jalsor. Clyde Montefolca will enter now for about 10 minutes of playing time. On the other side, there's Yanti Barsales. Just with my quick math, I recall, he must be the age now also more or less of Coach Boogie Margarce. Big deal yan when Jalsor was playing 2019. I know he retired quite from football. Bumalik sa Copa. He taught a thing or two to much younger players who were playing for Loyola, I recall.
Substitution for Philippine Army FC. Player number 6, Jalsor Soriano.
Say that if Philippine Army can hold this until the end of the match, you know, it also gives a bit of improvement in terms of the record that they hold against the likes of Taguig. You cannot stress it enough that during that first round, it was a blowout. Taguig won 13-0 against Philippine Army. So if Philippine Army can make sure that the deficit is that much smaller, those are already small wins that they can improve on coming into their next game and into the next season.
I mean, yes, you want to play to win, but in this situation, you will take that, of course. Exactly what you pointed out, Natasha. And I want to get this out of the way already, because earlier, or just a few months back, I did get to commentate the game of Coach Boogie's son with LaSalle Zobel. As Casing's shot goes way over the bar. And when me getting to commentate the game of Coach Boogie's son, who was a defender for DLSZ, I think this is the first father and son duo that I get to commentate already. No numbers or anything. You're spitting out facts in that scenario, of course. And we see that Colabatula will enter alongside Diego Aspiras. Hamed and Olibias will call it a day after 83 minutes of action right here. And Bias and Hamed allowed them to keep the pressure on Army. Hence, Taguig never lost control of this game, save for a few chances or counters.
Player number 10, Ahmed Hajimali, is replaced by player number 41, Sergio Astiras.
When you are winning, especially 4-0, it gives you the chance to give more attacking players to get time.
As Hartman buries this one here.
Despite all those substitutions made, it's still the usual suspect who gets on the score sheet. Once again, getting the hat trick. Mark Hartman with a top-class finish. That was Hartman to Goldson for Hartman again. Off the bounce, hits it just perfectly in that sweet spot. So much power in it. Right across. From that short distance, made it that much harder for Mark Bedia to really just get anything on it.
That was a laser from Mark Hartman. Talk about booking or bagging your hat trick in style. Forosuelo got to evade them. Colabatula, Goldson. So if we break down our scores now, yes, you have your Mark Hartman hat trick, but he did get to assist the goal of Stephen Halm earlier, as is the case with Marcus Haber. Will Haber make it a brace? And there you go. Puts it in. A quick spell for Taguig with goals. You have to be a bit concerned if you're Army again.
Not a good sign here. Marcus Haber bringing it all the way further down that right, making that angle smaller and smaller and smaller, and yet still able to quickly send that one across.
For Taguig FC by player number 7, Marcus Haber.
A brace for Haber, a hat trick for Hartman, a goal for Halm. And towards the dying minutes of this game, the last 5 minutes of regular time, Taguig coming alive with their substitutions made.
As much as Haber has been on the pitch since the start of this game, it's those subs essentially breaking down the Army D and setting up Marcus for that opportunity. Haber also quality, as we know. Aspiras will boot this long. He was with the Aguilas in the first half of this season. Here's another one, but it is a denial from Bedia.
this time around. What a save from Mark Badia. He had to track that as the ball was going across. Delivery from the right, perfectly for Haber. He has that one downwards, and off the bounce, Badia gets his hands to it.
The score would have been much higher if it weren't for the efforts of Mark Badia. The outswinger this time around. I believe Ham got a touch to it. Taguig contesting a non-call. They will reset here now quickly, we'll say.
You'd have to feel a bit for Army as well. They kept it respectable all throughout until the 80th minute mark. 4-0. In quick succession. Taguig able to score 2 goals.
Hartman somehow was able to take that in the midst of the traffic. So you have a Hartman hat trick. You have a Haber brace.
And also you have to give it to how good and how relentless Taguig have been on the attack. Wave and wave and wave on a constant loop all throughout the second half, leading to the fatigue of players for Philippine Army and just less structured play, causing them to break down and having those mistakes in the back.
And with that, you have Forosuelo, who's even moving up now as a member of that defense, and internally Ham and Ali. And as much as we say that, this is the back line right here of Taguig. They're well inside their attacking half.
Literally, it's only the goalkeeper of Taguig that is on the opposite end. Every single player is on the attacking end.
And with this, you have Marvin Briseño, a player we are familiar with actually on the PFL stage. Good to see him, of course. Pete Forosuela also trying to join the scoring party right here. Oh, am I right, Natasha, with that goal of Haber? That marks the first goal in this game that Mark Hartman's not involved.
That's right. That says a lot of how he's become a key figure in this Taguig matchup. And as Marvin Briseño, of course, checks into the game, as you all know, he's had a good stint, especially in the past with Global during their big days. They were the top gun.
Hartman trying to pounce once more and makes it 4. How do you stop him?
Another goal for Mark Hartman. Just taking advantage of a missed clearance from Army, falls in his path. And with a player like Mark Hartman on the end of that, he will definitely punish you for those mistakes outside the box. Clinical finishing from him. 4 goals in this game.
And I've run out of space here to record that for Mark Hartman with the way he's been on a roll.
5 minutes, minimum of 5 minutes of additional time.
Confirmation of 5 minutes of added time, as well as a substitution for Philippine Army. Ibanez makes his way for Kasing.
7-0 is the score right here for Taguig. You have the Hartman double brace, you could say, or the 4 goals.
You could tell that.
You have a brace for Haber and Stephen Halm, of course, which was oh so crucial at that point in time because he gave them that cushion.
Player number 4, Dexter John, is replaced by player number 33, Robert Christopher Taguig.
The corner of Hartman denied. Now that you put that against him with the way he's been performing in this game, takes it eventually. Coach Boogie gets to connect with Roy Kent. You have to talk about the energy of Taguig. The way their defense is running back, it's as if the game 1-0, 2-0.
This is also just showing the respect that they have for this game, for the players as well of the opposing team. Not taking anything lightly. That mental focus, no matter who you're playing as well.
They'll cross it in, trying to go for Goldson. But that becomes goal number 5 for Mark Hartman. And the 8th right here for Taguig.
And the technique was so crisp on that one. Cross from the opposite end from Briseño. And again, Mark Hartman, he knew exactly what he was doing in that moment. Takes it first time. He saw that small angle on the inside of this foot. Timed that to perfection. You could tell that he's entering just that state of flow. Everything is just working.
Can we call this the Mark Hartman game? 5 goals.
I'd say so, especially that Taguig are up 8-0. Mark Hartman has scored 5 of those goals. He's made 2 assists. And you wouldn't be surprised if he made a touch before the pass for that goal of Haber as well. But if we, let's say, scratch that out, 7 of the 8 goal involvements. That's a high rate. And you can't stress enough.
Goldson wanting to add one to the tally. There was the shirt pull from him. But do you still argue Hartman's involvement in that goal sort of counts? Not an assist, pero involvement lang. Like passing to the assist of sorts.
You have to give it to Army. It is heartbreaking. You know, when you hold the team for minutes and then the physical and the mental fatigue sets in, and all of a sudden, in the last 10 minutes, the game's not yet done. Taguig scoring 4 goals.
You could say, though, this is a professional performance, though, from our 2 teams. Taguig respecting their opponents by continuing to give their all in this game. The Philippine Army, as we know, doing everything in their might. It's not the day of the troopers, but they are at least going to go down swinging. They would have liked to keep the score much closer again with what you were saying, because there was a point in time, it was 1-0 for the longest time in this entire game until the floodgates eventually opened. But that does it, Natasha, as we exhausted the 5 minutes allocated for additional time. It is the Mark Hartman game right here between Taguig and Philippine Army FC. 5 goals. That's it.
5 goals, 2 assists to his name. It was a top performance. And you have to say that the better team won. It was a close game in that first half. At the break, it was 2-0. But quickly, something switched on in the second half for Taguig. They were able to make the tactical adjustments to have a more fluid attack in that second half. And you feel that when Jalsor Soriano was taken out of the game towards the 80th minute mark, it was a breakdown in the back for the side of a Philippine Army. And that's when truly the floodgates open. And Taguig, a team that are operating, as we've mentioned, at the top of the table, on the opposite end of the spectrum as compared to Army. Once you switch off, once you make those mistakes, are quickly able to punish you for them. Another top performance from the top team.
There you go. That does it right here again. It's that massive scoreline for one Taguig, 8-0. And Mark Hartman again leading the way with 5 to his name. Marcus Haber also got to bag a brace along with that goal of Stephen Hom early on, of course, to just get things chugging and chugging. One Taguig 8, Philippine Army FC 0. This is Taro Manzano alongside Natasha Alcaraz Dato, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Congratulations for winning the game and for being the man of the game. Can you share us your thoughts about your victory?
Yeah, I thought the first half was a bit slow. Went in 2-0 up, but I think the second half we played a lot better, and the goal showed that.
All right. What do you think went well with the game, and how do you plan to move on after this game?
I think the second half we were a bit more aggressive. Obviously, we got the goal, so it helped. Nothing changes. I mean, it's 3 points, and we go against Cebu and we do the same thing.
All right. Any message for the fans?
Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you next game. Thank you.
Thank you very much.